In this video, we shall be talking about to study in Canada, the application life cycle and the costs from when you have it in mind as a thought to where you get a visa. These are the process that we are going to cover in this video. Getting a Canada study visa is all about planning. With intentional planning and good strategy, this is what you need to secure a Canadian study permit. The first step is the admission requirements. The general admission requirements that you'll be needing will be you provide a scanned copy of your high school or O-level certificates, WAEC or NECO. Then you provide this crash card for checking the results, your international passports, your resume. If you have other kind of qualification, you should reach out to us. Not all schools accept, or you check the schools that you are about applying. You check their website and see what they accept. These documents are just listed above. Everybody will provide these documents, no matter the level you are trying to study. Then, if you are going for postgraduate, even if whether it's a master's or a postgraduate certificate, then you need to submit your first degree certificate, your first degree transcript. It depends on the school you are applying. Some schools will ask you for statement of purpose, medium of instruction. If English is you were taught in English, so they will ask you to provide the letter showing that you were taught in English. So that is known as medium of instruction letter. Some may insist that you write IELTS or any English proficiency exam. Then you will need 2 letters of recommendation. At least one should be academic. Then signed copy of our retainer agreement if you are working with us, and all documents you send them by mail to us. The general application timeline. There are various stages of an application life cycle. The stage 1 is the pre-admission. At this point is when you contact Swanberry Education, or you check out the schools that you want to study and ensure that it aligns with your career path, or it aligns with the target job where you are about going to. At this time, it's a good time to ensure that the program has a postgraduate work permit and it is an in-demand program. It all depends on your after studies plan. If you're planning to return to your home country, then you don't really need to care much about postgraduate work permit. But if you intend to stay back, you might want to consider that. Then confirm the cost of study, the tuition, the refund policy. Check for application deadlines, the tuition payment deadline. Most schools, they will give you between 2 weeks to 1 month after you receive your letter of your LOA, your pre-offer, to pay for your tuition deposit. Then check the proof of funds needed and what strategy you want to use to show, or what is your profile like. You determine all at this pre-admission stage. You should also note that some school has fast turnaround time and you can get admission within a few days, while some may take several weeks. As a rule of thumb, begin your application at least 6 to 8 months before your intended travel date. The stage 2 is the admission process. You submit your application for admission. Using our services, you submit it to us through our email. If you want to do it yourself, you can check swanberrygroup.com/applyboard. And if you want to use passage loan, you can check your eligibility at swanberrygroup.com/passage. Sign all necessary consent forms. Wait for the school to issue an admission decision. Then, this is also a good time to start gathering all your visa documents. You have the stage 3, which is the post-admission. Now the school has issued you admission letter. What you do is you check your pre-offer letter and know how much they say you should deposit. Pay your tuition deposit. Receive official receipts. Then requests. Once you receive official receipt, the school will automatically send you letter of acceptance. However, when they fail to send you that, request for your final letter of acceptance and your provisional attestation letter. Print your bank statements or have your bank send them to the Canadian Embassy. Gather all other supporting documents and apply for a visa. At this stage, you might want to consider writing your letter of explanation or your statement of purpose. The stage 4 is the visa application. You submit your visa application, you book and attend biometrics, and you do your medicals and wait for a decision. At the stage 5, it's the waiting period. While you wait, please ensure that your funds still remains in your account, because they might send you a mail, send us an updated bank statement, of which you have to print and send to them. So that is something you should take into consideration. Now, if you receive a positive decision, you will get a passport request, of which they will send you will send your passport to the Canadian Embassy through VFS or the Visa Application Center. You will also receive the introduction letter, which you must bring to Canada, and at the point of entry, your study permit will be issued to you. However, if you are not approved of a visa this time, you get your GCMS notes, correct any error, reapply, and we hope you get a positive decision, because by then you would have known the errors of the previous application and you will know how to correct them. Now, this is what it will cost you to study in Canada. The average tuition per year is 18,000 Canadian dollars. Although you can get some schools as low as 6,000 Canadian dollars and some as high as 50,000, but for most programs, it's about 18,000 Canadian dollars per year. After admission, most schools will give you 2 weeks to 4 weeks to pay your tuition deposit. That's why you should have your tuition deposit handy as you begin the process to avoid rush and unnecessary pressure. Many schools will require an initial deposit. This amount varies from school to school. Some will require a deposit of 2,000 Canadian dollars, others more. But normally we recommend to deposit your complete first year tuition, or at least 10,000 Canadian dollars. The ROCC wants you to show at least that you have your first year tuition and living expenses, and show that you can pay for subsequent years. So let's do a small analogy. If your tuition fee for the first year is 18,000 Canadian dollars, your living expenses for one person is 20,635 Canadian dollars, and the cost of return ticket, let's say, is 2,000 Canadian dollars, depending on the country you are in. So you need to show a minimum of 40,635 Canadian dollars minus the amount paid on tuition. We recommend that you show more if possible. And what we recommend is at least if you are doing a 2-year course, show that the tuition for that 2 year course, at least that one must be complete. And your living expenses for 1 year, you must show it. Then show acceptable ways whereby they will be able to verify and prove beyond reasonable doubt that you can pay for subsequent years. Now, these are the acceptable ways to show available funds. Kindly note that only liquid cash counts towards your proof of funds. Liquid cash in the sense that money at hand, cash at hand, cash that can, what you can liquidate and turn to cash instantly. For example, your money in your personal or your family member commercial bank account, a fixed deposit, money in a fixed deposit account, a GIC, a guarantee investment certificate with a Canadian bank, or you open an account in the student's name in Canada and transfer the money to that account for the student. Another way you can still show that you have liquid cash is student loan with details on how you will repay. Funding or scholarship from recognized institutions, government institutions, recognized scholarships. Now, they do not count as liquid cash, but they can still help your case to prove subsequent that you have available funds for subsequent years, like government issued bonds, your employment records, your employment documents, like let's say you or your sponsor, you have an employment. Let's say your sponsor have an employment and the HRO has like, he earns or she earns X amount, and with what they earn a year, they can conveniently pay for your education. So with all those, it counts as a viable proof of funds, an acceptable way to show available funds. Now, these all following documents that I'm going to list below, they don't show available funds, but they can show that you have ties to your home country. It includes your landed properties, your share certificate, your pension history, or your pension statement of account. They are not liquid cash. They will not substitute for liquid cash. Even if you have shares worth billions and you don't have liquid cash, you may still be denied based on insufficient funds, because those are not easily convertible. Same thing with landed properties. However, it can still make your case stronger to show that you have a good reason to come back to your country. Now, they have different strategies that people use to ensure their success. In recent times, whereby getting a Canadian study visa, it's now like based on who is the most qualified. You will want your application to stand out. So consider any of these following strategies. You can decide to pay your full first year tuition and do a GIC. That is a good strategy. Another strategy is you pay above your first year tuition and show bank statements for your living expenses. A third strategy will be pay a minimum of 10,000 Canadian tuition deposit and show your living expenses in your account. Whatever strategy you choose, note that getting the funding part is just one part of the equation. You still have to explain how that program would align to you, to your career growth. You still have to explain with your letter of explanation. Other strategies you may want to consider or adopt is using of student loan. It can also help you can also use it to show and improve your chances of securing a visa. Now, These are the list of things you should do and consider, and the ones I would not recommend. Remember, you need to show the source of your funding, because this is equally as important as money in the bank. Bear in mind that the funds has to be in the account minimum 4 to 6 months to avoid any form of suspicion. Then avoid lump sum at all costs. If you are from a country like Nigeria or some parts of Africa whereby the currency is not stable, the exchange rate fluctuates up and down, then you may consider using a domiciliary account that is denominated in US dollars, because that is fairly stable compared with respect to the Canadian dollars. Then use commercial banks when the type of banks to put your money, what they recognize and what they highly appreciate is commercial banks. Other strategies some persons explore to meet their financial needs in Nigeria, for example, they use what we call proof of funds loan vendors. Some vendors charge us from 1.5% upwards, and what they do is they loan you money for your study abroad under certain conditions, which you would understand these conditions and know that okay, it fits you can meet their payment plan, and if it works for you, get from them, have the money in your account for a minimum of 4 to 6 months. If you are using a vendor, then when you are like 4 months, the account has stayed like 4 months, apply for your visa. Before the whole process finishes, you would discover that okay, in 6 months you are already done, you already have your visa. Then you meet the obligations of your loan vendors and to discuss the modalities of how to pay and be paying them their money. These are the mandatory documents that are required for you to apply for a visa. The documents you will need will depend on your application profile and the strategy you want to adopt, and it's a case by case. It's case by case. But the standard visa documents you will be needing will be your international passport. Please ensure that this passport has enough validity. You are going to fill the application form, the visa application form, the family information form, the digital photo on a white background, letter of explanation, your letter of acceptance from your DLI, your provisional attestation letters, and any other supporting documents that can help prove your case. There are various ways and various profiles I have seen people use. Among such profiles include people that apply as employed. Now, this personnel, what they do is they provide their proof of employment that you have been working for at least 6 months. You provide your pay slip. You provide all the necessary documentation to show that you are working in that company genuinely. And if you are employed and you are going by this route, there are a list of documents you can provide. If you want that list, let me know and I will send it to you. The self-employed, these are people that do business. Ensure you provide your registered business certificates and ensure that your business, it's something that is verifiable. Then you have the people, I call them the hybrid. They are both employed and they do business. So you can provide both documents for the employed and the self-employed. Then you have other type of personnel. You have the young school leaver, the homemaker. You have some persons that are not working. Yes, you are not working doesn't mean Canada cannot give you visa. They can give you visa, and you explain whatever situation your situation is. You explain and you tell them what you will do when you graduate. You can decide to use a sponsor, but limit sponsorship to only direct family members.